in the last class we looked at how we can make use of a BJT for amplification purpose. The first criteria is that we need to bias it in the forward active region, and then we derived the expression for the collector current, and the collector current IC was given as IS into e raised to VBE by VT. So where VT is one constant that depends upon temperature, and its value is 0.026 volts. Okay, as the temperature increases, this value will increase, but we are giving this value with respect to 300 degree Kelvin. Okay, kB into T divided by Q, that's what you have to do to find VT. And the other constant we have is IS. So these are the two constants. This IS is given by area of cross section multiplied by charge of electron multiplied by Ni square multiplied by diffusion constant and divided by width of the base region and the doping concentration of the base region. And this value you can write by taking, and Ni is strongly dependent on temperature. Okay, Ni will increase with the increase in the temperature. This is the intrinsic concentration, and since it is the square of intrinsic concentration, it's going to very heavily depend upon temperature. Then if you look at all other quantities, they are independent of temperature. Diffusion coefficient may be slightly dependent upon a weak function of temperature, but Ni is a strong function of temperature. Now typical value of this IS is you can call it 10 raised to minus 15 amperes. It's a typical value of IS, and if you put in these values, then our expression become 10 raised to minus 15 e raised to VBE, whatever is the voltage that we apply across the base emitter forward bias voltage. Okay, and this is 0.206. So this is the ratio of voltage in the exponent, and since it is in the exponent, if VB is much larger than 0.026, we are going to get very large current. Okay, and we looked at the characteristics IC versus VBE, and we got something very similar to the diode characteristics. And another thing we looked at is the effect of the reverse bias voltage or VCE. Okay, so we are talking about this circuit. This is our circuit. So we are giving our VBE here. So this is our VBE, base to emitter voltage. Again I am taking an NPN transistor, as you can see from the symbol, and this is my other voltage source, which is VCE. Okay, so this VCE should be greater than 0.2 volt, and VB should be a forward bias voltage, so that base emitter junction is going to be forward bias and the collector base junction is going to be reverse bias. And this is our IC, and we saw that IC heavily depends upon VBE according to this expression, whereas there is no term relating to VCE in the expression for collector current. So therefore changing the collector emitter voltage, collector to emitter voltage will not vary IC. But when we plotted the characteristics by taking a device VC 547 in the last lab, we saw that there was a dependence on the collector current. Collector current depends on the VCE value, and if I may plot that as we have got in the last class. So what we got was something like this. So there is a slight slope there. Okay. It's not entirely flat or horizontal. There is a increasing slope. As VCE increases, IC varies in a very small way, but there is a dependence. This is what we got. So this is not completely flat, which means like this. That is ideal, but in practice we will get a non-zero slope. Okay. Zero slope means completely horizontal, but in practice we will get a slight slope. Okay. So what does that means? It means that you cannot model it the output side of this circuit, that is output side means this side. Okay, this side of the circuit we cannot model it as a ideal current source. We need to model it as a practical current source. A practical current source, if you take, it will always have a parallel resistor. Okay, and let us call that resistor R0. If you introduce a resistor, then we can explain this slope here. So effectively you need to consider it as a ideal current source in parallel with a resistance. Okay, now tell me whether the value of resistance should be very large or very small for us to get completely horizontal curve for IC versus VCE. When we plot IC as a function of VCE, if you have to get a completely horizontal curve, what should be the value of R0?
Very large.
Very large. It should be infinity. Okay. So if it is infinity, you can remove R0 and there is no resistance. It is equivalent to that because it is open circuit here instead of the resistance, and therefore you will get flat. But now we are applying this voltage VCE across this. We can model it like this. So as you increase this VCE voltage, okay, if you vary the magnitude of this voltage, then the current, because of this resistance, the current that is flowing from the source will be divided into two parts. Okay, one portion will go through this current source, and that whatever is going through that portion, that is fixed. Okay, that will be fixed by the magnitude of the current source, and there is an additional current which is going to flow through the R0. Okay, and that voltage or that current changes. Okay, so there is a current which flows through, let's call it as I0, and let's say this current is I. So the total current that is flowing, so the total collector current, if I may write like this, okay, the collector current is a current that is entering into the collector terminal. So it has two portions. One is through this parallel resistance. This is a model. Okay, we are modeling the output side of this circuit, above circuit. So earlier we said we may approximate it as a current source, but now I am saying since we have seen the practical characteristics, there was a non-zero slope, and therefore we should not consider it as an ideal source, but a ideal source in parallel with a not load resistance, output resistance, and together this will be a practical current source. Okay, any practical current source are going to have an R0 across it. Now let's say find out what is the value of R0 here. So to do that, we are saying the collector current is having two portions. One is flowing through due to the current source, and that will be fixed. Whatever is the current source value, that will be given by that I am calling it as I, and the other portion is I0, which is passing through R0. So IC, I can say has two parts, I, which is a current source, and the other is basically VCE by R naught. Okay, so this is our I naught, VCE by R naught. So if you look at this expression, IC is, there is a constant current plus there is a portion of the current which increases with, which depends on VCE. And how much is that current? That current is VCE by R naught. Okay, so that is depending upon VCE. As VCE increases, that portion of the current increases. So the dotted line is basically showing our I, and to that I need to add another current, which is my I naught. So I is a fixed current plus I naught. Okay, so that I naught depends upon what is the VCE. So if I take my VCE here, this is my VCE, then it will be VCE by, that VCE by R naught. If I am here, my contribution of I naught is smaller because here the VCE is smaller. So it is proportional to, it's like a resistance. Okay, the current through a resistance is proportional to the voltage. And what is R naught? R naught, you can say that it is delta VCE, the change in the voltage divided by change in IC. Okay, the change in it, one portion is fixed, I is fixed, so the only change is due to delta I naught. So this is same as I can write it as delta I naught and then equate it to delta VCE by delta IC. So in other words, if you find the slope of this, that will give you the value of R naught. So how to find out R naught? From the characteristics. If the characteristics is given to you, you take 2 points, point 1 and point 2. Okay, the one VCE1 and VCE2. Okay, this point I will call VCE1, and this point I will call VCE2. Okay, I took 2 points. This is the VCE axis, and then correspondingly look at the current. So let me denote it with a, so I take this point and this point and the corresponding current. Okay, you can choose any of this characteristics. So I am choosing a particular characteristics and take the corresponding current IC. So I will get the first current. What is this current? This will be IC1, and then the second current, which will be slightly larger, so that will be IC2. Okay, so I can now find out this ratio. So this is my VCE1 and this is my VCE2. So R naught is equal to VCE2 minus VCE1 divided by what is the current corresponding to VCE2, IC2 minus IC1. So this is what we have to do. So once the characteristics is obtained, you just find out the slope of it. Since I is plotted in the vertical axis, we are finding inverse of the slope. The slope means it is delta IC by delta VCE, but inverse of that. But if you are putting 2 points, you can always take this ratio directly, change in voltage. So this voltage change may be something like 5 volt, and the current change may be like maybe some milliampere. Okay, so maybe 1 milliampere. So suppose it may not be even 1 milliampere, maybe half milliampere. So say a typical value may be something like 5 divided by say 0.5 milliampere. Okay, so how much is this? This is, if you get this delta VCE as 5, you take 2 points which is 5 volt apart, and then the change in current, suppose if it is 0.5 milliampere, you substitute it, maybe this is 1 and this is 1.5, like that. Okay, so the difference is going to be 0.5 milliampere. and if you do that, so you will get what? You will get 10 kilo. So it is of the order of 10 kilo. Okay, so that's how you find out R naught. So once you get this, you can model it more accurately. That you can say that you can replace the transistor, the output side of this circuit can be replaced with a practical current source with a which has a ideal current source in parallel with a load the output resistance R naught, and the value of R naught for this particular transistor characteristics, we obtain it as 10 kilo. Okay, so that is one thing. And then what did we say? We also saw that the input side you may treat it as the input side you may replace it with a diode. Why did we say that? We say that because the current IB is related with VB. So this is your VB. So it is related with the VBE that you apply. So this is our emitter terminal, and this is our base terminal, and this is our collector terminal. Okay, so the transistor may be looked at like this. These are the three terminals. Okay, whatever is in between this terminal, this is the model of the transistor. So here I am replacing the input side, I am replacing with a diode. The reason why I am replacing with a diode is because we earlier wrote the expression for IB. IB is what? IB is given as IC. If you know the IC expression in forward active region, okay, only this model is valid only in forward active region, and in forward active region IB is given by this. Okay, IC I told you it is IS, already I wrote, and so IS by beta DC. Okay, so this is basically the current gain which we derived in one of the earlier classes, e raised to VB E by VT. Okay, so it is similar expression, only thing is that there is a division by beta. And what is beta? Beta DC is basically gamma into base transport factor. Gamma is called emitter injection efficiency, curly B here stands for base transport factor. So this is a constant, it depends upon the transistor. The typical value is something like 100. Okay, it may be more, it may be little less than that, but for a good transistor it is expected that beta DC is something like 100 or more than that. Okay, so now how do I justify the usage of diode here? The thing is that IS value I told you, typical value something like 10 raised to minus 15. So that divided by beta, so you will get something like 10 raised to minus 17 into e raised to VB E by 0.026 at room temperature. Okay, so this is what? This is my reverse saturation current of the diode. Reverse saturation current. So if I have a diode with this reverse saturation current, okay, if I put between base and emitter, you will get exactly the same current. Okay, you apply the same voltage between base and emitter, you will get this current, and that's our IB. And what about this current? This current, it's a current source, but the magnitude of this current source, now we will write it as GM. Okay, so magnitude right now I will not write that way. I will come into GM little later, but right now I am going to write the magnitude of this current source I as this as I into e raised to VBE by VT. Okay, IS into e raised to VBE by VT. So that is the current. Okay, so this is the expression that we derived. Now look at VB is not part of this output side, it is actually part of the input side. Okay, but the output current depends upon input voltage. Okay, so that is what this current source, so therefore this is a voltage dependent current source. Okay. the current source I is equal to Is into e raised to VB by VT. So this is a voltage dependent current source. Okay, so now, so once we model this transistor like this, now we can make use of this transistor in circuits. Okay, and the circuit that we have looked at is basically a circuit for amplification, where we introduced a small AC signal in series with the DC voltage. Okay, so let us again go back to that. So we have this VBE. Okay, now VBE, when I say now, it is with capital letter denoting the DC voltage, and it is fixed. Let's say it is 0.7 volt, and in series with that I am putting a small sine wave. So this is my V in. Let's call it as it's a small letters. Okay, I am writing it in small letter. V in, I am writing it small letter, is like Vm sine omega t. Okay, and this typical value of Vm, I am going to fix it as say 5 millivolt. Okay, the amplitude of the sine wave is very, very small. The peak value is 5 millivolt, which is also can be written as 0.005 volt. Okay, millivolt means 1,000th of a volt, so it is 0.00. So the total volt which is now coming to the base of the transistor is this voltage, and that voltage is basically how much? It is the sum of these two voltages. Okay, so this is my V1 now. So V1, if I write, it is basically 0.7 plus 0.005 sine omega t. Omega may be 100 hertz or something like that, but that's not very important right now. Some time varying signal which is added with a small amplitude is added to the DC voltage, and then we have told that we need to put a series resistance with this battery. So this is the battery that we earlier called as VCE. Now I will call it as VCC. Okay, okay, we can call this as VBB. Okay, so that we can still use this as our VBE. Okay, so these are the notations, and this resistance I will call it as RL, and typical value is something like 1 kilo. Okay, so this is collector, emitter, base. Now according to what I told earlier, we can replace this transistor, since it is going to be in forward active region, provided say this is 10 volt, we can consider it to be in forward active region, and we can write down or we can replace this transistor with the corresponding equivalent circuit. So the equivalent circuit was like this. Since it is a dependent source, usually it is drawn with this kind of symbol rather than circle, and there is a parallel R0. Okay, and this is my emitter, this is my base, and this is my collector. So what do I have? I have an AC small signal and then a DC. So the DC is 0.7 volt. VBB is the voltage source name, and then I have a RL, and then we'll call this as VCC. VCC, it is say 10 volt. Okay, so this is now the equivalent circuit. I just replaced this transistor, NPN transistor, with this circuit. And how did this equivalent circuit come? I already explained to you. It is just to model our expressions for current, as well as what we got in us when we plotted the characteristics to fit in those expression, or to fit in those characteristics. So this is the output characteristics. It can be modeled with a current source with a parallel resistance, and then input, it is basically diode equation. Okay, when we studied diode equation, we said the diode current is basically I0 into e raised to V by Vt. So it's a diode equation with I0, which is the reverse saturation current, and if you take the reverse saturation current as Is by beta DC, and therefore it can be modeled as a diode. Okay, so because it is the voltage across the diode. VB is basically the voltage across the diode. So this is V or VD. This is the voltage and this is the current. So if it is replaced, this will become IB and this become VB E. So that's what we said. So it is replicating the characteristics. I did not draw again the transfer characteristics or the input characteristics. So if I think earlier I only drew the transfer characteristics, but if I draw the input characteristics, how does it look? It will look like exactly like the diode characteristics. So this is our VBE, and now here I should plot IB. Okay, so I will get this. So this may be some microampere, because usually it is microampere. It's a small current, because you see the reverse saturation current is 10 to the minus 17, 100 times smaller than the collector current, which was Is. Okay, so Is by 100, so it will be in microampere, and you will get a characteristics like this. So this may be something like 0.7 volt. So this is called the input characteristics. Okay, so this is called input character, because it is input current versus input voltage. So whenever you are asked to plot input characteristics, you have to plot IB versus VB, whereas this one is the output characteristics. Okay, earlier I have drawn the transfer characteristics, that is basically IC versus VBE. Okay, input voltage versus output current. So that is IC versus VBE, which will look like this, but the current is like some 100 times larger. So that's the difference between input characteristics and the transfer characteristics. Okay, so let's come back to this circuit. So suppose we are giving this voltage like this. So if you want to find out how the amplification is going to happen, so the way, one way to look at is basically approximate. Okay, so to find out, the simple way is that if you just ignore this output resistance, that is the slope, then quickly we can find out the output voltage. So all you need to do is, so this is our VBE. So I am going to draw the transfer characteristics, which is IC here. Again, this is not input characteristic, it is transfer characteristics, but they both have the same shape. Okay, so something like this. So 0.7, suppose this is 0.7. Let's say this is 0.7, and I am applying a very small voltage here. Okay, that means around 0.7 I am just making a change with respect to time, and correspondingly I will get a variation in the collector current. So this is my normal current for 0.7 or IDC I can call, and then when it increases, my current also increases. When the voltage decreases, my current also. So this is what the current source will generate. Okay, so the current source will give a current, say I, which is basically, so if I write the expression for it, what is it? I is basically given by Is into e raised to 0.7 plus this V in, this is our V in, divided by say 0.026. Okay, so let's look at this expression more closely. So what I said is the current I, which is at the output side, is basically the expression for current given by the dependent current source, voltage dependent current source is Is into e raised to VBE. VBE is basically sum of 0.7 plus V in divided by VT, which is 0.026. So this is V in. I can substitute e raised to what is V in? It is what did I take? The constant I have taken as Vm. Okay, so let us use that. Vm is the peak, so peak sine omega t divided by 0.026. Okay, so this I can write it as Is into e raised to 0.7 by 0.026 multiply into e raised to Vm sine omega t by 0.026. So I have splitted the expression, okay, into two product terms. So one of them is basically a constant. So that constant I'll call say IC, Is, what should I call, IDC or ICDC. ICDC, that means collector current, DC collector current. Okay, that multiplied by e raised to Vm sine omega t by 0.026. Now this is obviously going to be a very complicated expression, but if we use the expansion of exponential, you can treat it like IC DC into e raised to say x by 0.026. okay, where I taken Sx as Vm sine omega t. So what is the expansion of this term? So let me IC DC into 1 plus x by 1 factorial plus x square by 2 factorial plus etc. Okay, so that's how we including 0.026, let me call it as x. Okay, so that will be better. Okay, so this is x, x is having 0.026. Okay, so this is my expansion of the exponential e raised to x. I called this quantity as x, and then I just gave the expansion of exponential function. I hope everyone is aware of this expansion. And then under certain circumstances we can neglect the higher order terms. Okay, so let's try to do that. So what should be the condition for neglecting say x square and all other higher order term when x is sufficiently small? So let me write that. If x is say less than 1/10 of 0.026. Okay, when x is less than say 0.1, if x is less than 0.1, then this will be basically IC DC into 1 plus say 0.1 plus okay, so I'm just taking a case of 0.1, x is 0.1, so this will be 0.01 by 2 plus next term is going to be x cube by 3 factorial, so that is going to be 0.001 divided by 6 plus etc. Now you can see that so this is like 0.005, and this is even much lesser. Okay, so we can neglect all these terms and we can just approximate it as IC DC into 1 plus 0.1. That means taking only the first term. So that's what we are going to do. So therefore, if what is x, our Vm is less than Vt by 10. Okay, if Vm is less than Vt by 10, then I can write my current I as IC DC into 1 plus Vm sin omega 1 plus Em sin omega t by Vt. Okay, this is my x, so I only took 1 plus x. All the higher order term I am neglecting because they are very small. We don't make much error. If I introduce this term also, it is going to be 0.105. So we are neglecting that 5 in the third decimal places. Okay, 0.105. So that is a good approximation provided this condition is met. Okay, so Vm is if it is less than Vt by Vt is 0.026. Okay, so if it is something like 2.6 millivolt Vm, then we can safely write our output current or the current source current in this manner. So that will help us to do the analysis better. So that is equal to IC DC plus, then I have IC DC by Vt into Vin. Okay, so this term is what we call as Gm, okay, into Vin. Here I have defined Gm, so it's basically a current. So conductance, it has to be a conductance. When you multiply it with the input voltage, I am getting the output current, so we call it as transconductance. Okay, output current is given by some conductance multiplying the input voltage, and conductance is given by IDC by Vt. Okay, so this is the DC collector current divided by Vt. Okay, so this is a very important. So how to find out Gm? All you need to do is basically find the DC current, and DC current we know. Okay, so if I write what is the DC current? DC current is basically Is into e raised to 0.7 by Vt, that is 0.026. Okay, so this is my IDC or ICDC, collector DC current.
Sir,
Yes.
what did you do in the second step?
Which system?
This one,
This
ICDC plus ICDC plus V.
This one, I just expanded it. Okay, if I just expand into the bracket distributive property, it will become IC DC by Vt into Vm sin omega t. So this is what? This is my V in, right? Clear?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay. So my IC DC or DC collector current is basically given by Is into e raised to whatever is the DC voltage divided by 0.026 divided by this. Okay. Another way we can look at it is basically this Gm is going to give us the slope of the transfer characteristics. Okay. So if you take the transfer characteristics, you can look at the transfer characteristics. We are here. This is our operating point. So operating point is usually called as a Q point. Okay. And if you draw a tangent passing through that point to this curve, okay, so then this slope, okay, this slope is what is given. What is this slope? This slope is given by, slope is basically is equal to delta IDC or delta IC divided by delta VBE. Okay, so this is my GM. This is another way of defining what is GM. It is change in the collector current divided by I will prove this, okay, by expression also I can prove this. Okay, so alternatively I can say GM is basically delta, it is basically the slope of the transfer characteristics. So transfer characteristics, we plot IC versus VBE, input voltage and output current. So I can say this is basically D by DIC by dVBE. Now what is IC? So that is D by dVBE of Is into e raised to VBE by Vt. So that is equal to Is by Vt into e raised to V by Vt. Now what is this? This is my collector current. Okay, same as what we got above. Okay, so we are taking a small variation of collector current about a point, and so that point voltage is VB. So this is basically the DC voltage. Okay, so differentiation can be what does the differentiation do? It is basically taking the slope of a curve, right? That's the meaning of differentiation. So when you take the slope, we are I mean that can be approximated as the differential of a function at that particular point. So where does we take? So that depends upon our VBE DC value. Okay, so we are taking, so we take slope at the different points, we get different GMs. Okay, so if we go back to this curve, so if I take slope here, say here, this is a smaller slope, this is a larger slope, and if I take a slope here, it is even bigger. Okay, so the slope is different at different point, so GM is different at different point. Okay, so what does that mean? My amplification of the signal. Now let's come to the amplification factor. How much is my amplification of the signal? Okay, so voltage amplification. So voltage amplification is given by what? So it is basically delta V out. Okay, so the V out, if only we apply a DC voltage source, V out will not vary, there will be no change in the output voltage, it will be a constant voltage. Why? Because we are applying a VBE here, and if this VBE is only a DC voltage, and this I is going to be a constant current, and this current, which is IL, will also be a constant current. So constant current is flowing through RL. So if I take the output here, this is my V out, it is going to be a constant voltage. So that's not interesting, but when we put in some V in, then what will happen is that the VB will vary with respect to time because of this AC input, small AC input, and then this I will also vary. Now I already wrote the expression for I. For small variations we can take, there is a condition, we can take it is IC/DC plus GM into Vin. So now I will write this current as I is equal to IC/DC plus GM into Vin. So that is my current. So Vin is actually a function of time, and IC/DC is constant. So this GM into Vin is what is going to vary the voltage across the load resistance. Okay, so first I will find out that variation without R0, okay, because that is more simple. So if I assume, let's assume R0 is much larger than RL. Okay, under that condition I can neglect R0, because all the current which is given by the current source will flow through this RL. Okay, nothing will be going through R0. Okay, so it will be entirely IL. So so delta V out is equal to, I can write it as delta I. So I has a constant and a varying part. So this is my delta I. So this is DC part. So delta I multiplied by RL, but there is a, since the current is flowing in the upward direction, the positive is going to be in the bottom side and negative is going to be in the top side, actual voltage drop. But we are taking V out with positive up and negative reference in the bottom, and therefore there is a sign change. Okay, but if I just ignore the sign change for the moment for finding the amplification factor, that's not important. It is a variation of the output voltage divided by delta at the input. Okay, so this is what is important, that is what the amplification factor. So delta I is what? Delta I is basically GM into Vin into RL divided by delta Vin. So I can cancel this, so my output is basically GM into RL. So it is proportional. My this is my gain. Output is just the numerator. Okay, variation in the output is due to the variation in the current multiplied by the resistance. Okay, so when there is a time varying current flows through a resistance, there will be a time varying voltage, and that time varying voltage will have a variation of delta I, the variation of current multiplied by the load resistance. So that is my variation of the output voltage, that divided by variation of the input voltage. Input voltage, how much it varies? 2 Vm. Okay, this is basically 2 Vm. So 2 Vm into Gm is my delta I. Okay, so let me just write here, Vm is the peak voltage. So to positive side it goes, and to the negative side also it goes. So it is basically Gm into RL. So now let us see the effect of Gm. I already told you Gm depends upon what? Gm depends upon the DC curve. So Gm expression is given by this. Okay, Gm expression is given by DC collector current divided by Vt. Okay, so Gm depends upon where you put the operating point, or what is the DC voltage. So that will decide your Gm. So let us see all of this by plotting certain curve. So So this is my transfer characteristic just now what I plotted, and let me just do this. So I have written a Python program here, and what is it? I'll just explain what I'm doing here. Okay, so if you look at here, I have defined my IS here as 5 into 10 raised to minus 15. Okay, you can make it just 10 raised to minus 15 itself, and then VT I have taken as 0.026, and beta I have taken 100, and then I am creating a time variation of 2 pi in order to show a sine wave, and then this is my bias voltage 0.75, and then the DC current I am denoting it as I naught. Okay, I naught is basically the DC current, and that is what DC voltage exponential of that e raised to VB by VB is basically the DC voltage divided by VT. VT is 0.026 into IS, so that will give me the DC current, and then GM is basically, I just now showed you, it is basically IDC divided by VT. Okay, so collector current at DC collector current divided by VT. So that is my GM. Then I am applying a small sine wave. How did I create? I defined the peak voltage as say it's 2 millivolt I am giving. 2 is only 1/10 of 0.026 volt, 2 millivolt. So it should be considered as a good approximation, linear approximation. We are only keeping the linear term, and quadratic and all other higher order terms we are neglecting in the exponential expansion, and then that into sine t. So this is my basically the small signal input, sine wave input, and I am adding that signal with my DC voltage, and now I created V1. V1 is basically sum of that's basically my VBE, which is basically sum of VB is the DC, and then Vin is basically the AC voltage. I added those two, and that is my V1. So that I give to the exponential expression to get the collector current. Okay, so it varies with time. Okay, the small signal is varying with time. I am putting a load resistance 1000 ohm or 1 kilo ohm, and my output voltage, only magnitude I am showing here, that is going to be I into that resistance. Okay, so then I am just plotting all this. So let me just run it. The first thing I am plotting is basically my input. So input is, the DC voltage is 0.75. Okay, you can see this 0.75 is my input voltage, DC voltage, and along with that I am having a small sine wave which goes up to 2 millivolt. Okay, 0.752 it is going, and it goes down also by or 2 millivolt downward also, so it will go to 0.748. Okay, so that's my input, and then my output voltage, which is basically the collector current multiplied by the load resistance. So the DC voltage is something like here 70, no, it is little less than 17 volt, but because of the variation fluctuations in the input, my output is varying. So basically the blue curve is my blue curve here is my output. Okay, and I will explain what is this orange curve. Orange curve is basically the actual linear approximation that we are using. So if you use the linear approximation, what is the linear approximation? Linear approximation says that this one is reference. Okay, so it is basically I naught plus GM into Vin into R. Okay, so if you go back here, this one. Okay, so this is my linear approximation. Okay, so I naught, this is the DC voltage into then I naught so this is basically GM into Vin. Okay, GM into Vin. So this is what we defined as GM into Vin. So that is what I am doing. and that will give you the current variation, and multiply that with R, that will give you the linear approximation. So I am plotting the orange curve, which is the linear approximation, and the actual current is basically the actual current is going to be the blue curve. Now why did I plot both separately? Okay, so one is this expression, plot of this expression. So this is the orange curve. Okay, and what was the other curve? That is the full expression, okay, without any neglecting any of the term here, taking all the term. So that means this one, this is my blue curve. Okay, so blue curve take into account of all higher order terms, whereas my orange term is only a linear approximation, which only takes the first term, that is this one. Okay, so you can see that there is a slight difference. Okay, so blue curve, but they are almost same. The difference is very negligible, but I want to show that this difference will become very prominent. Okay, before that, let me show you another thing. So if I change the DC voltage to say 0.65, okay, my operating point is now changing, and I am rerunning it. Okay, so the approximation looks the same. What is the difference? The current that we get, or the voltage output, you can see that it is varying only from 0.33 to 0.39. Okay, 0.33. So the delta V out, so I am also writing the voltage gain. So our voltage gain is now 13. Okay, voltage gain expression I have derived for you some time ago. Okay, this one, GM into RL. Okay, so that's going to be very less. It is only 13.8 because my DC bias voltage is 0.65. My GM is 0.0313. GM will decide, and my input resistance is okay. So let me also tell you what is input resistance. So input resistance is found out from the output resistance. I already told you. Now the input resistance Ri, you have to go to the input characteristics and do delta VBE divided by delta IB. IB is the input current. So this you can write it as say d by dIB of VBE, which may be written as 1 by dIB by dVBE, but we know that IB is basically 1 by beta of IC, so we may write it like this. Now what is DIC by dBE? So little time ago I told you what it is. DIC by dVB is basically GM, right? So I can substitute that. So this is going to become beta divided by GM. Okay, so that is my input resistance. So beta of the transistor, if it is given, so you can find out GM as above, and then you can take the ratio of it, so that will give you. So look at here, these things are going to vary very much with respect to the change in the DC voltage. So I am putting 0.7 first. So note now the input voltage, the GM is 0.01, AV is 13.8 voltage gain, and RI is 7000. So now I go to say 0.75. Look at the same values, what you get. Now GM is 0.6. Okay, and my AV voltage gain is 648, so that is my amplification factor, and my input resistance is now smaller, it is 154. So these quantities GM, AV and RI, they are heavily dependent on where is my DC voltage. Okay, my fluctuation is still 2 millivolt only, positive and negative fluctuation is only 2 millivolt. I am not changing, but where I am making that fluctuation, is it at 0.65 or is it at 0.75? Okay, though it is a small signal, but I can do that variation with different DC voltages, so that will vary my gain, and so it is very much dependent upon the gain, depend on what is the DC voltage. The GM depend upon transconductance factor, that depends upon where is my biasing voltage. So if I make it 0.7, I'm only changing my DC voltage by 0.05 volt, and now my gain is 94. Okay, a 0.5 voltage change between base and emitter, the DC voltage, is giving rise to very large change of all these parameters. So AV is, I gave you the expression, RI I gave you the expression, GM I gave you the expression, so you can notice all. Now one very very important thing I want to tell you is that what is going to happen if I increase the change. Say instead of 2 millivolt, if I make 20 millivolt, 20 millivolt means it is comparable to VT. So our approximation is not holding, the linear approximation does not hold now. For that, at least it should be 1/10 of VT, but now it is like 20 millivolt and 26 millivolt, they are comparable. Okay, so let's make a 26 millivolt itself, so they are same value. So if they are same value, you cannot neglect the higher orders. Okay, I want to show you that. Okay, so you can see that the orange curve is the linear approximation, and the actual current that we are going to get is basically looking like the blue curve. Okay, so the blue curve is not even a sine wave. Okay, it is actually giving more current in the positive half cycle and less current in the negative half cycle. Okay, so this is a distortion. Okay, so in order to avoid distortion, this is also called nonlinear distortion. Okay, because it's a periodic wave. So if I draw this wave, okay, so let me draw this wave. So this wave, sine wave, it is a distorted sine wave. It is having more current here and then less current here, something like this. Now in signal sun system, you have studied, if you have a periodic wave like this, you can expand it in terms of Fourier series. Okay, you can expand it in terms of Fourier series, so it will have lots of components. What are the components it will have? The fundamental frequency, that will be more prominent, so which is, these are all now perfect sine waves. Fundamental frequency, and along with that there will be lot of other terms like which is double frequency, first harmonic but with a small amplitude like this, and then triple frequency 3 omega. So this is omega naught frequency, this will be 2 omega naught, and then there could be 3 omega naught, etc. So in one cycle there will be 3 cycles like this. So this is from your signal sun system. So if you add all this, so this is your 3 omega naught frequency, but they have smaller amplitude. As you go to higher frequency, amplitude will be, if you add all of this, you can generate this actual wave. Okay, so that's the synthesis of this distorted wave. So what actually we want is only this one. Okay, so all the higher order terms should not be present, they are distortion. Okay, so to avoid that, we need to satisfy this condition. Okay, we need to satisfy the condition I told you earlier. What is that? The condition is this. This one. So this is condition for linear approximation. Okay, so only under that condition the both are going to look alike. Okay, so let's go back to that condition. How do we go? You just keep your V in amplitude. So this is our V peak amplitude of, so make it 0 0 1 millivolt. If you compare with 26 millivolt, 1 millivolt is very small. Okay, if you run it, they are alike, no difference. So output is just a gain multiplied by input, and gain is 94. How much is the gain is determined by where is your DC voltage. So the DC voltage will determine your gain, because it will determine your GM, okay, and your input voltage. All of these quantities will be determined by your DC voltage. Okay, so if you increase, so right now if you look at your output voltage swing, it is going from 2.3 to 2.5. But if I go to 0.75, then my voltage is going from 16.2 to 17.4. So it's like 1 volt change is there at the output. Okay, the variation of the voltage is 1 volt, and my linear approximation holds. My gain is 648. Why? Because input is 1 millivolt, output is close to 1 volt. Okay, but if you take the ratio exactly, you are getting not 1000, it is like 648. This is not exactly 1 volt, it is different from that. Okay, so and also it will gain will also depend upon the input resistance and various other parameters. So I hope it's clear what is the effect of changing the DC voltage and what is the effect of changing the amplitude of the signal. Okay, and if the amplitude of the input signal is very small, then it can be approximated as a linear amplifier. Otherwise the amplifier is not linear. What you get at the output is not exactly the same shape, it will change the shape. That is a distortion. We call it nonlinear distortion, because it will introduce higher harmonics like 2 omega, 3 omega, etc., and that is not a good thing for amplifier to do. Okay, so any signal which satisfies the condition which I mentioned, this condition, you can call it as a small signal amplifier, because this input signal is sufficiently small. Okay, if this condition is not satisfied, the analysis cannot be approximated like a linear with just the linear term like here. It has to have all the terms present, and in that case we call it large signal. Okay, so small signal and large signal. So depending upon how big is your V in, we have to say whether it is a small signal amplifier or large signal amplifier. Okay, so let me just write it explicitly here. So if Vm is lesser than Vt by 10, we call it small signal. Okay, else it is large signal, because you can't take the linear approximation, and therefore it is we need to take the full expression, all the term in the exponential, here you have to consider all the term. Okay, so that is large signal. Okay, and same thing you can see in LT Spice also. So I have biased it with the DC voltage is 0.68, and my variation is only 5 millivolt. You are getting a pretty good sine wave at the output. Now if I change this condition, that is instead of 0.005, I give say 0.26, which is like comparable, and run this, and then you can see that there is distortion. So the negative side amplitude is very large. Okay, there is an inversion here, because actually there is going to be an inversion when you take the voltage across load resistance. You can see that the number of the variation to the negative side is like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 units it is down. If I take this horizontal lines, 7 units, but if I look at the positive variation, 1 2 3 3.5, okay, it's almost half of the variation in the negative side. So it's not a sine wave, okay, it's a distorted sine wave. There is a lot of distortion. That's because we gave a large signal with a peak amplitude of peak amplitude is like Vt. But if I again go back, I can remove that distortion. So you add one more 0, then it becomes 1/10 of the Vt. Okay, and now if you look at the output voltage, you see that it's same toward up and down. Okay, the positive cycle and negative cycle has same amplitude, so that is a good small signal amplifier, because the input signal is satisfying the condition that it is less than 1/10, or it's right now it is equal to 1/10 of the Vt. Okay.